I just wanted to come on and say that was good. How did I have some questions here.
Sure.
um, how is dating different after divorce?
Dating after divorce, I kind of previously mentioned, is so different in the way of my goals. What are my goals in finding somebody, finding a life partner? I don't have the traditional goals I had of buying a house or having kids or building a career. Also, there's not the like naivety about it. I know what marriage looks like, and I know it's hard, and I know it's wonderful, and it can be such a blessing. And you really have to, especially now, I think being, mid 30s, everyone has their lives. Well, most people have their lives established. Even my boyfriend right now has his career as a professor, and I have my career as an OTA and starting a new business here. And then I have kids, and you have to juggle all that. And we're long distance. So we've got long distance. I've got kids. He has no kids. He's never been married. I've been married. We both have careers. We both have friends we love. We both have, passions we love doing. And how do you blend all of that? And I feel like when you're younger, at least for me, I didn't have like any of those things, like I had my boyfriend who became my husband, who was everything I did was with him. And that was great for that moment in my life. But you didn't have like really the stresses of adulthood or parenthood. Oh my goodness. And so there was just this like, fun loving feeling when you're 20 of getting married. Just the world's our oyster. And now you're like, well, we have our oysters now. And like, what do they look like? They're a little different, some similarities, but very different. And how do we blend those? And that's tricky. It's very tricky. And I think communication is 100% key. Just always talking, but also learning. This is especially for me. I like to talk things through. I like to get things, settled and under control and understanding each other, but also learning how to live in the moment and just enjoy the journey. Because like you had said earlier, Liz, like nothing is guaranteed. You don't know what's going to happen, and you just need to embrace the good where it is and also be taking everything in stride.
Do you feel like it's more efficient now? Like you can probably figure out within a date or two, yes, no.
Yeah, definitely. I think like I mentioned, I have my list. Well, I have my list of things that I keep track of things I love and things I, don't want. And I feel like, practice that I've done is being really in tune with myself and with my gut. And there have been times where I might agree to a date and, an hour before I bail out because I just don't feel good about it. And I think being able to really trust your gut and not second guess that and just go with that is key. And same with meeting somebody. If you're not quite sure, then you should just trust it. Stop trying to force yourself to get over something. Like you don't really know this person. No harm, no foul. Say thank you, nice to meet you. It's not there.
Where do you even look for people? And has that changed since you were first dating when you were younger and how you're doing it now?
Oh, so I got married pretty young. And so I met my ex-husband up at the university. We were both going to school up there. We both actually got a job at a restaurant. That's where we met. And I mean, before that, I was in high school. So I just meet people, through high school. And now it was dating apps. I was on Hinge. I was on Hinge. Went on a lot of dates through Hinge. The sad thing for me though was, and I know my friends who are also single, we would go out. We'd be like, hey, let's go out. The kids, are with their dad or they, or with a sitter or something. Let's go out intentionally to see if we can meet people. And I mean, we live in Logan, Utah. There's not a lot going on. But whenever we would go places, and we were like, it might be silly, but we were like, we are here and we are ready to meet people. Like we are looking at people. We are like making eye contact. We are smiling. We are being flirtatious. Guys don't approach women in the wild anymore. And I've also talked to a lot of my guy friends about this who are also single, and they're like, yeah, we don't because, well, we don't want to be rejected. There's also like the Me Too movement, of course, which is respectable, but also it's made it really hard for guys on their end, to their credit, of like they don't know what is going to set somebody off or not. They don't know what if they're going to cross any boundaries. Like even they could be so respectful, but they still don't know how this one person's going to react. So going out was kind of out of the question. We'd still go out as girlfriends, and you'd always hope. I think I met one person actually just going out to meet somebody. I met one person that I actually dated. But okay, we can say two, because one of the guys I dated, I met on Hinge, and then years later, we went out as friends, and that's how I met my current boyfriend now, was because he brought a friend. But I mean, it's mostly the dating apps, and you just have to be able to filter through those and just go out and meet somebody. And, I like to keep my first date simple. Usually it's like a coffee date, because, hey, I've got 30 minutes on my lunch break. Let's grab a coffee. I've got a quick escape. If it's going bad, if it goes great, we can say, hey, let's plan another date. So,
what is that movie? Do you ever see Blended with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore?
I am notorious for like forgetting movies. Like they just don't sink into my brain at all. So
he had some bail escape thing where his friend would call him and say like the craziest thing to get out of a date. And when you said that, it just reminded me of that. And I wish I could remember what it was, because it was so funny. And I remember Drew Barrymore's like, "Are you seriously ditching me?"
Yeah, it was a good show. What I love about you and your friends is that the attitude. I think there's so much about an attitude. I remember being, 30s and 40s, not sometimes having the best attitude. I'm sure I sent off a vibe that was don't approach, right? So I know what some of your male friends are talking about. And then I got to a point, maybe mid 40s, where it's like, you know what? I really want this for my life. I am willing to do whatever it takes to have a special someone to share my life with. I want it all. I want the highs and the lows and everything about it.
Yeah.
Amber. So I think that changed everything for me. I was willing then to go online, where before I would just dip into it and to get scared and hurry off. I mean, I think so much of it is the mindset. I'm really glad you brought that up. Meant all the difference to me anyway.
Good. I love that. I think so too.
Yeah. How has this all changed you, Amber?
I would say it's changed me, ultimately, general statement, for the better. I have become so much more of a person, like overall as a person, with thoughts and opinions and mindset, and being very introspective, and being able to give that to my girls, being able to give them an example. I mean, they're only 7 and 9, but I feel like they'll be dating like, just around the corner. And I hope that they will remember me dating. I really do. And I think, Liz, that goes back to, some people might be like, why are you dating when you have children at home? What's that showing your kids? And, my hope is I am showing my girls how to date, how to go out, how to date, how to put your best and worst foot forward, being authentic, enjoying people, learning, growing, and also being able to move on from a relationship. I remember being in high school, being absolutely devastated, when my high school boyfriends and I broke up. I mean, that was end of the world. And, unfortunately, I think that might still happen to them, but also I hope that they will trust me more when I say I've been there, because they will have seen it. They will remember, if I talk about somebody or dating someone, they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that person. I remember you did that. And so I just think leading by example, and hopefully change me for the better, and that not only me as a person, but also a mom for my future teenage daughters, and into their 20s, and, just giving them something to look forward to, but also look up to, and trust the process.
There's something you mentioned earlier. This is my last question about family members and friends offering unsolicited opinions about people you were dating or seeing or anything. How do you feel about that? Have you stopped? I think you said you don't listen to that. You kind of make your own mind up.
So I actually made it a point I gave my friends and family permission. I said, I'm giving you permission to tell me what you think, good or bad. And I said, it's going to be really hard for me because, of course, I really like this person, but I am telling you, I am open to hearing anything. And I verbalize that just like that to them. You got to tell me. You got to tell me if I'm not seeing anything. And so then they would tell me. They wouldn't really tell me, just off the cuff. But I think because I was so forward with telling them from the very beginning that they would. And I would come to them and say, hey, I got to tell you something. I don't want to tell you. I don't want to tell you this because I like this person and this is not good. But I have to tell you because I can't keep it from you. And just doing that, I feel like is so empowering to be able to kind of let someone in to those deeper, more personal sides of, a relationship that you're like, how I don't want to hide this. I don't want to pretend like this didn't happen because it really hurt me, but I still love them or still like them. What do I do? And I think that you have to be open, like I said. So now, I only hear good things now about my boyfriend and, I never heard anything bad about him, hence why we've been together for a year and a half. But in the beginning of dating, I did hear things I didn't want to hear, but I took them in stride and maybe I gave them, I hear you, I'm going to give him one more chance. And they'd be like, okay, and I would give him one more chance. And then I knew that was the answer and I made my own decision.
Well, Amber, thank you so much for coming on today. Yeah. This has been very enlightening.
So long, and
glad we had our conversation
a
couple months ago, and I was able to invite you on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. I've loved it. It's been great.
Thanks for joining us today. Hey, do us a favor and take a second to subscribe to our podcast and the Utah Marriage Commission YouTube channel at Utah Marriage Commission, where you can watch this and every episode of the show. Be sure to smash the like button, leave a comment, and share this episode with a friend. You can also follow and interact with us on Instagram at Stronger Marriage Life and Facebook at Stronger Marriage. So be sure to share with us which topics you loved or which guests we should have on the show next. If you want even more resources to improve your marriage or relationship connection, visit strongermarriage.org, where you'll find free workshops, e-courses, in-depth webinars, relationship surveys, and more. Each episode of Stronger Marriage Connection is hosted and sponsored by the Utah Marriage Commission at Utah State University. And finally, a big thanks to our producer, Rex Polanis, and the team at Utah State University, and you, our audience. You make this show possible. The opinions, findings, conclusions, and recommendations expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views of the Utah Marriage Commission.